Hello students, I hope you are all fine and in good health. In this audio presentation, I will be explaining the first few portions from the chapter. We are not afraid to die if we can all be together. It is written by Gordon Cook and Alan East. Dear students, let's start. In July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan, 6 years, and daughter Suzanne, 7 years, and I set sail from Plymouth, England, to duplicate round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. The narrator and his family, consisting of his wife Mary, his son Jonathan, 6 years, daughter Suzanne, 7 years, and he himself, all of them together, decided to travel, or rather to say, decided to make a journey round the world. It's a voyage. They wanted to undertake a voyage, and they wanted to replicate what Captain James Cook did almost 2 centuries earlier. So, in July 1976, the narrator, along with his family, consisted of his wife Mary, son Jonathan, daughter Suzanne, and he himself, decided to undertake a round the world voyage that was previously been undertaken by Captain James Cook almost 200 years earlier. For the longest time, Mary and I, a 37-year-old businessman, we get to know the profession of the narrator. The narrator was a 37-year-old businessman by profession, had dreamed of sailing in the wake of the famous explorer, and for the past 16 years we had spent all our leisure time honing our seafaring skills in British waters. Now we get to know that the narrator, he was actually a 37-year-old businessman, and he was actually the great grandson of Captain James Cook, and Captain James Cook can be considered to be his great grandfather. So, what his great grandfather did 200 years earlier, he wanted to duplicate or replicate or repeat the sea voyage that was undertaken almost 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. And not only that, we get to know that it was not a one day affair. They spent 16 years. They means I'm referring to the narrator and his wife. They had spent 16 years of their leisure time in honing. Honing means, dear students, improving. Seafaring skills means knowledge related with navigation, related with handling a sailboat and its equipment, that is known as seafaring skills in British waters. Now, they had 16 years they had spent their time, so it was a tedious process. They had undertaken a lot of training. They had uh, learned about the knowledge related with navigation. They had learned about handling a sailboat. They had learned to utilize its equipments. The thorough knowledge regarding marine sea adventure they had learned. And for the past 1.5 decades, Mary, that is the name of the narrator's wife, and the narrator himself, they had practiced a lot in the sense that they learned many things related with maritime adventure, or related with marine adventure, we can say. Knowledge related with navigation, knowledge related with handling a sailboat and its equipment, everything. So it was a well planned, well executed process. So it has taken a lot of time. And after almost 16 years, they decided to undertake this voyage, round the world voyage. And they were accompanied by their son and daughter. The name of the son is Jonathan. Jonathan was 6 years of age at that time, and Suzanne was the name of the daughter. Suzanne was 7 years at that time of age at that time. And it's a real incident, my dear students, and it occurred in the year 1976 in the month of July. And it's like a adventure and also a struggle to save their lives. And we can say it's man versus the wild nature. And the experiences that they had faced, the problems that they had encountered, how they triumph over all those problems and obstacles, we will get to know in the course of our discussion. So, dear students, now I am moving on to the next paragraph. Our boat, Wave Walker. Remember the name because short question is very important from this part. Particularly, you have to describe the boat Wave Walker. A 23-meter 30-ton wooden hulled beauty. Now, wooden hulled beauty means beautiful boat made of wood. Wood. I repeat one more time. Wooden hulled beauty means beautiful boat made of wood. And Wave Walker was actually the name of their sailboat. I repeat, Wave Walker was actually the name of their sailboat, had been professionally built, and we had spent months fitting it out. Now, fitting it out means furnishing it. That is the meaning of the term, dear students, fitting it out, and testing it in the roughest weather we could find. We tested it in the roughest weather we could find. That means immediately they haven't plunged into action or into this adventurous journey or voyage. They had planned, or rather to say, they had planned for almost 16 years. And obviously, before they had undertaken the voyage, even they tested whether the wave walker, the wooden sailboat that was their vehicle for undertaking their journey around the world, whether the wave walker was suitable enough to undertake the voyage or not. When they were satisfied that yes, the wave walker was very much suitable for undertaking the voyage, then they went on executing their dream of replicating or repeating round the world voyage that was previously taken almost 200 years earlier by one of their ancestor, particularly one of the ancestor of the narrator by the name of Captain James Cook. Now, dear students, I am moving on to the next paragraph, but before that I like to say one more important thing, that they tested wave walker by using it in the roughest weather they could possibly find. And when they found out that the wave walker was very much suitable and perfectly okay for undertaking the voyage, then they went on using it for their round the world voyage. So now let me move on to the next paragraph. The first leg. The first leg actually means the first phase, or rather to say the first part. The first leg of our planned 3-year 105, 000 kilometer journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. Cape Town is in South Africa. So the initial phase or the initial part of their journey was very much successful. It was a pleasant journey. There was no problem as such. So by the grace of God and by their determination and courage, the first phase of their journey, that is of 105, 000 kilometer journey, it passed pleasantly and they sailed down the west coast of Africa and they moved to Cape Town there before heading east. Then, from the west coast of Africa, they reached Cape Town. Now, before heading towards the eastern part, they decided to include two members or two crewmen, we can say, in their wave walker. One was an American, his name was Larry Vigil, and another was a Swiss man, his name was Herb Sigler, to help us tackle the one of the world's roughest seas, the southern Indian Ocean. Now, the important thing is the Swiss actually means the nationality of Hafsigler was that he was from Switzerland. So one person of the crew member was from Switzerland. His name was Hafsigler, and another one was Larry Vigil, who was an American. So they were being included uh, in the journey that was previously already been undertaken by the narrator and his family. So they had included two crewmen, an American by the name of Larry Vigil and a Swiss man or a person who was from Switzerland by the name of Half Sigler, to help us tackle means to handle one of the world's roughest seas. And what is the name of that roughest seas? The southern Indian Ocean, because they need some trained person, they need some people who are very much trained on board. So they had taken Larry Vigil and Half Sigler with them, and obviously to help them tackle one of the roughest seas, that is the southern Indian Ocean. Now, dear students, I am moving on to the next page. Now, remember, up to this, there was no problem as such, but slowly and slowly, problem will arise as they will move ahead in their journey. On our second day out of Cape Town, we began to encounter means to face strong gales. Gales actually means extremely strong winds. That is the meaning of the term gales. For the next few weeks, they blew continuously. They means here it refers to the strong winds. Gales did not worry me, but the size of the waves was alarming. Alarming means it was threatening. Actually, the narrator, he was sharing the experience that he had encountered along with collaborative experiences of his family members along with the two crewmen. And that is the reason you will find, dear students, that most of the time he has expressed his experiences in tackling the roughest weather in related with the southern Indian Ocean, and he's expressing it in first person. That is the most important thing. So he's saying that the strong winds did not worry him, but the size of the sea waves, it was very alarming, up to 15 meters, as high as our main mast. Okay, so the height was up to 15 meters, as high as their main mast. So that was something very threatening, because, dear students, alarming means something very threatening. Now I am moving on to the next paragraph. December 25th found us 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Despite atrocious weather, we had a wonderful holiday, complete with a Christmas tree. Okay, despite they had to face atrocious weather. Now, atrocious, dear students, means very unpleasant. That is the meaning of the term atrocious. Despite atrocious weather, we had a wonderful holiday, complete with a Christmas tree. Despite the weather was totally unfavorable, unpleasant, despite that, they celebrated Christmas on 25th December. New Year's Day saw no improvement in the weather, but we reasoned that it had to change soon. But we do feel like that the weather would change soon, and it did change for the worse. But unfortunately, yes, the weather had changed, but not for a positive, from a positive point of view. It haven't changed from a positive point of view, but the important thing is that it changed for the worse. That means the weather deteriorated more and more. So now I am moving on to the next paragraph. At dawn, that means during the time of daybreak, on January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. It was huge, mammoth, we can say. We were sailing with only a small storm jib. Now, storm jib, dear students, it means small sail used at the time of a storm, that is known as a storm jib. I repeat, small sail used at the time of a storm, and last a heavy mooring rope. Now, last means fastened, and mooring, this is something related with, used for tying the boat to a fixed object. That is the meaning of the term mooring. Now, I repeat this line once again, dear students, for your convenience. At dawn on January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. Waves were gigantic means the sea waves were gigantic. We were sailing with only a small storm jib. Storm jib, I told you the meaning, small sail used at the time of a storm, that is known as a storm jib. And we were still making 8 knots. Knots actually is related with the nautical miles per hour. That is the meaning of the term knots, as they were very much knowledgeable in terms of navigation and all those calculations. So knots is related with the nautical miles per hour. That is the meaning of knots. Not only the narrator, but even his wife Mary, they were well versed, well knowledgeable. They had enough knowledge related with the with navigation, related with the seafaring adventure, because they had did a lot of demo training. They had done a lot of research work. They had studied a lot for the past 16 years. They had used their leisure hours in honing, in sharpening their seafaring skills, and they had utilized it. And as we will move along with the story, we will get to know that they had utilized it to the best possible way that they can. So it is a story of courage, it is a story of determination in the face of problems, in the face of obstacles or problems. Very important, dear students. I'm repeating it. Storm jib, and we were still making 8 knots. As the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless, enormous seas rolling towards us, and the screaming of the wind. Now, this is very important. Screaming. Scream means to shout, obviously, the roaring of the wind. Now, this is a very, very important line. I am repeating it once again. As the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless, enormous seas rolling towards us, and the screaming of the wind and the spray was painful to the ears. Now, the screaming of the wind, the raging nature, the nature at its furious shape, or nature at its most violent form, that was something that was a bit frightening for them, but they were very courageous. Though it was painful to the ears, because the sound of the waves, it hit directly to their ears. It was extremely painful and equally violent. To slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jib and lashed a heavy mooring. I already told you the meaning of mooring, used for tying the boat to a fixed object, rope in a loop. Now, very important, this line is, to slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jib and lashed a heavy mooring rope in a loop across the stern. Stern means actually the back part, the rear part. Then we double lashed everything went through our life raft drill. Now, life raft drill actually it means practicing how to climb into a lifeboat if the main boat sinks. It is like a demo practice because they had learned all these things because the husband and the wife they had spent 16 years in honing their seafaring skills. So the important thing was that they practiced, they did a bit of a demo practice of how to climb into a lifeboat if the main boat sinks, because ultimately the lifeboat will save them. The lifeboats will definitely save them. So they went on practicing that because nature was furious at that moment. It was extremely violent. So I repeat this line. Then we double lashed everything, went through our life raft drill, attached lifelines, donned oilskins. Now, lifelines actually means ropes fixed around the bodies of persons to prevent drowning. That is the meaning of the term lifelines. Ropes fixed around the bodies of persons to prevent drowning. Oil skins actually it is related with waterproof clothing. That is the meaning of the term oil skin. So I am repeating this line, dear students. Then we double lashed everything, went through our life raft drill, attached lifelines, donned oil skins and life jackets, and waited for the ominous, waited for the violent nature to unleash all her fury. So they waited. They wore the life jackets. Now jackets without sleeves. That is what life jackets are all about. Jackets without sleeves, which can be filled with air to help persons to float in the sea. That is known as life jackets. Normally, it is made of rubber. Jackets without sleeves, remember, which can be filled with air. And obviously why it is filled with air? To help persons float in the sea. That is the meaning of the term life jackets. So I repeat, then we double lashed everything, went through our life raft drill, attached lifelines, donned oilskins and life jackets, and waited for the ominous, waited for the furious nature to unleash all her fury. The first indication of impending means approaching disaster came at about 6 p.m. with an ominous silence. Ominous silence means quietness just before some dangerous happening, that we can say ominous. That means before any catastrophe or before any dangerous thing happens in the world of nature, there is a silence, a very abnormal, unnatural form of a silence or ominous silence, that is quietness just before the danger or just before the actual danger that was about to happen. So, ominous silence is related to that. The wind dropped and the sky immediately grew dark. All of a sudden, nature changed for the words. Already, it was been repeated earlier, it was been told earlier that nature changed for the words, and it became words because remember, the wind dropped and the sky immediately grew dark. Then came a growing roar and an enormous cloud. Enormous means something that is very huge, extremely huge, towered aft of the ship. Now, aft of means behind. That means towered behind the ship. Aft of, AFTOF. Aft of means behind. So it is actually the narrator initially thought it was a cloud, enormous giant shaped cloud, but it turned out to be the dangerous sea wave, but a wave like no other. Now, obviously, the narrator realized it initially to be a cloud, but it turned out to be a giant sea wave, a mammoth sea wave. See, with horror, I realized, as I told you, that he's narrating his experience, and obviously the collective experiences of the other members along with his own family members. So it is written in first person. So see this line, dear students. With horror, I realized that it was not a cloud, but a wave like no other I had ever seen. So what he realized initially was backfired. It was a huge mistake he did. Initially, he thought it to be a cloud, but it turned out that it is not a cloud, but it is a sea wave like no other I had ever seen. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of other waves, with a frightful breaking crest. Now, some meanings you should know. Breaking crest means top of wave overturning. So it was a deadly scene, and the wave lashed onto the wave walker and almost partially destroying it. So, dear students, I stop in this audio presentation up to this. In the live class that I will be conducting, I will be discussing at length related to this chapter. In this audio presentation, I had discussed up to frightful breaking crest. Breaking crest means top of wave overturning. Frightful means something that is very much frightening, that may cause a lot of damage, and that really this wave, when it lashes on board the wave walker, it did really cause a lot of damage to the wave walker. Now, what damage did it cause to the wave walker, and how each and every member of the family of the narrator, including the crewmen, the two crewmen, and the narrator himself, how they overcame it, how they encountered it. The story is all about it. So it is a story of courage, determination, and obviously to remain cool and composed in the face of disaster, or in the face of impending disaster. It is a story that shows the determination and the fortitude of human beings in the face of disaster, in the face of catastrophe. So in my next audio presentation, I will be moving on from the to the next paragraph. But in this audio presentation, I stop right here. Dear students, kindly go through it. I side by side given you some meanings also. I explained some meanings also. I hope you all will listen to this audio presentation, and I hope you will all like it. Thank you, students. Thank you all.